It's Tuesday, April 21st. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. Fire rips through Irving's tissue paper plant in Dieppe. A new era in cruise ship travel as passengers begin their voyages in Halifax.
Cooler late April weather continues, and some showers are expected as we move into the end of the week.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. We begin with some tense moments earlier today as fire burned through Irving's tissue paper plant in Dieppe. The facility that makes the brand Royale was evacuated and products hauled out as multiple crews fought the fire. CTV's Derek Haggett has the details.
When firefighters arrived at the Irving Tissue plant just after 5 this morning, they immediately saw smoke coming from inside the building. Dieppe's fire chief says it took a while to locate the fire, but the sprinkler system did its job.
The building itself is still in good condition. We had to cut a hole through the outside wall to access the area of origin. There is significant smoke damage in the building and water damage.
About 20 firefighters from Dieppe and Moncton were on scene at the peak of the fire. There were no injuries. Chief Mark Cormier says there were employees inside the plant at the time of the fire. However, they all managed to evacuate safely before firefighters arrived. Heavy equipment was brought in to help remove inventory and debris from inside the warehouse so firefighters could get to the fire.
The fire itself was not large, but it was hard to get to because the warehouse is evidently packed with stacked products. So we had to get to the seat of the fire to be able to get water on it.
In a statement to CTV News, a spokesperson for JD Irving calls the damage minimal and says as of this afternoon, the plant was in the process of restarting production. Thank you to our employees who went above and beyond to help our team evacuate safely, and to the Dieppe and Moncton fire departments and all first responders for their prompt actions. JD Irving says the plant's fire protection system activated and helped control the fire. The cause is under investigation. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Dieppe.
We have a story tonight of a Nova Scotia woman battling terminal cancer and the bureaucracy. A pricey drug could buy her more time, but as CTV's Vanessa Wright reports, she can't wait for the approval process to play out.
I just want time. I want a little more time.
Something Lisa McDonald is willing to pay thousands for as she battles an aggressive form of ovarian cancer. After multiple failed rounds of chemotherapy, her family says there is a drug that could buy them more time. But there's a problem.
Unfortunately, the drug is not covered by provincial health care. So we'd have to pay out of pocket. I checked with my insurance company. It's not covered by them either. And the cost is around $30,000 per dose every 28 days.
As a member of the Pan-Canadian Pharmaceutical Alliance, the province says they are in active negotiations with AbbVie, the company who made the drug. While they recognize the costs of treatments are not covered by publicly funded programs, they say a decision to provide financial support for Nova Scotians would come after negotiations are complete.
I have 2 children graduating. I have a 16-year-old learning to drive. I have another child that's cooking and going to Finland before it. I have things I want to see, things I want to be there for.
About half of all ovarian cancer cases affect women age 63 and older. Lisa is 43. The family was told by doctors she could have at least 12 more months with consistent use of the drug.
They're hoping by November of this year that the provincial government will come to a deal with the company as far as pricing goes, and it'll be covered and actually given out to patients free of charge.
But with very little time, they're counting on a fundraiser to help cover the cost of her first dose scheduled for Monday.
We're trying not to think too hard about what happens if we don't get it. We're just focusing on getting the next dose, that's all.
I mean, even if it gets me an hour with my children, I just want more time.
Vanessa Wright, CTV News, Shearwater, Nova Scotia.
There's nothing spectacular about cruise ships coming and going from Halifax, but a vessel in port marks something of a new beginning for the era of ship travel that could transform the industry on the East Coast. CTV's Jonathan McGinnis tells us why.
They're arriving by the busload. This group from St. John is among the first passengers to board a cruise ship in Halifax.
It's fantastic. You can just take a bus, take a car, jump on the ship.
They're getting on one of the largest ships of the year to call on the port, the MSC Meraviglia.
It's a sister's trip.
That sister's trip is partially possible because of the cost savings from avoiding travel to the United States to catch the ship.
It was so exciting not to have to fly somewhere. Yeah. This is our first cruise, too.
Same for this family who gathered from across Nova Scotia.
It's absolutely convenient. That's what convinced us to go, is to be able to board in Halifax. We didn't have to fly to New York. We didn't have to put an extra hotel room onto our tab. And so this is the way to go, and we hope that they have more opportunities to do this.
Passengers have been able to board and disembark smaller vessels. It's a first for large ships like the 4,500 passenger Meraviglia.
After this one, we actually have 9 other opportunities for passengers to get on or off in Halifax, but they're mostly on smaller boutique vessels that are around under 300 passengers.
Point of origin cruise options are good news for the economy. Close to 600 people are boarding the ship in Halifax.
And for us to be able to do this means that people are either staying before or staying afterwards in Halifax and getting to have that economic benefit of the pre and post cruise in the city.
The MSC Meraviglia heads to Portugal from Halifax. Passengers who boarded here say they hope to do it again. Well, Todd, this is a bit of a one-off for the Port of Halifax. Robin Stewart says smaller vessels have taken on passengers here in the past, but without improved infrastructure, she says this won't be a regular boarding stop for cruise ship passengers. Todd.
Okay, John, at the cruise terminal at the Port of Halifax this evening. That's going to be tonight's CTV web poll. We're interested in asking you this. Would you be more likely to go on a cruise if you could board at a maritime port? Your options are yes, it would be more convenient. No, I'd rather travel abroad, or not interested in going on a cruise. Have your say now at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. On our website, Nova Scotia tourism revenue hit a high of $3.7 billion last year, and we have the details at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. It looks like a controversial land sale in Cape Breton that has many councillors feeling they were left in the dark is about to become an RCMP matter. CTV's Ryan McDonald is at council today. Ryan?
Hi there, Todd. Yeah, it was a spirited and at times heated discussion here at council chambers that lasted at least an hour and a half. Now, on the surface, the matter at hand was about the sale of a piece of land, a pretty local issue, admittedly. But the greater undercurrent was about something that perhaps more people anywhere could relate to, and that was issues of trust and communication here at City Hall. Now, at issue was a piece of land in the Sydport Industrial Park along Sydney Harbour, seen as key to any future port development here. A piece of land that was recently sold without council's knowledge to a group led by Montreal-based port promoter Albert Barbusi. Today, the city's chief administrative officer admitted that things could have been handled differently, but said the outcome ultimately wouldn't have changed, as the sale of the land was binding to an agreement made by the previous council all the way back in 2015. Regardless, nearly every councillor who spoke today talked about feeling left in the dark, that the deal going ahead without their knowledge spoke to deeper communication and trust issues. One councillor, Irving McMullen, went as far as to say that she felt someone at some point made a conscious decision not to inform council. In the end, Councillor Gordon MacDonald put forth a motion of his own.
So be it resolved that council requests the Royal Canadian Mounted Police assess the circumstances of the Sydport transaction to determine whether further investigation is warranted, that the referral be made without allegation and supported by all relevant documentation. Staff be directed to compile and provide all materials necessary to support a complete review, and council pursue paralegal, legal, administrative review as appropriate.
And Councillor Gordon MacDonald's motion regarding RCMP involvement ended up being carried, with the only nay vote coming from Councillor Steve Gillespie. Back to you, Todd.
All right, thank you, Ryan, for that. Ryan McDonald live at Sydney City Hall. Some less controversial land use now. 100 public apartments, public housing, are going to be built for more than 300 people at the foot of the McDonald Bridge in Dartmouth. The province announced the units will be part of a larger development planned for Shannon Park, the long vacant site of a former military community. The apartments will join another 930 affordable homes on that space. Construction is expected to begin soon. There's a live look at Antigonish right now, just under the freezing mark, though the sun is shining. Let's bring in CTV meteorologist Kalen Mitchell for our look at the conditions, which are pretty chilly in some spots.
Yeah, listen, April, do better.
Do better, right?
I expect this out of March. I expected better out of April.
Yeah, we certainly don't want it for May, though we're a couple weeks away.
That's right, yeah. I mean, it was a cold start to the day today across the Maritime region. Just looking at some morning temperature reports in behind me here, you can see that most of the Maritime started off the day at least a few, and in some cases several degrees below the freezing mark, and there's that -12 up around Edmundston. Then, of course, in the afternoon, while temperatures recovered a little bit, they were brisk for this time of the year, well below averages for late April. Most of the highs topped out around the low to mid single digits. This is a combination of factors right now. We do have a pool of colder air that's sitting aloft of us right now in the Maritimes. We also in that northerly wind that was drawing in some chillier air out of areas of Quebec as well as Labrador. Taking a look at what's going on radar and satellite for this evening. Still some partly cloudy conditions around parts of Nova Scotia. Generally speaking, though, as we make our way through tonight, there's just going to be a few clouds around, though it is going to be colder again. In behind that for tomorrow, much of the Maritimes a mix of sun and cloud, but with some of that increasing cloudiness for the province of New Brunswick, there will come a chance of some showers. The part of the cloud cover and the chance of showers they'll be watching for New Brunswick for tomorrow is currently this area, which is making its way through western areas of Quebec. So that'll be drifting towards parts of the Maritimes coming up on Wednesday. Tonight, though, with some relatively clear skies, if you're going to bundle up a little bit warmer for the cooler temperatures, here's some things you can see. It's a waxing crescent moon, 25% illuminated over the western horizon, along with the planet Jupiter this evening. Jupiter will be nearby the moon. The Lyra's meteor shower still at peak. The radiant point is near the star Vega, which will be rising over the eastern horizon overnight. Although you don't have to be looking directly at the radiant point to spot some meteors. So they will streak across the sky if they're present. You want to be in a dark area, though. You need to have some patience as well. The aurora is unlikely to be observed tonight, but if you're up early tomorrow morning, 5:08 a.m., there should be an excellent pass from the International Space Station to spot. It'll be moving from the west towards the northeast and will actually rise fairly high into the sky. Todd.
Very good. Okay, we'll see you later in the broadcast. Thank you, Kalen. Staying with the weather somewhat, we're going to take a look at New Brunswick's River Watch, where flood warnings, watches, and advisories remain, along with some optimism that this will be as bad as it gets this season. CTV's Nick Moore has our update.
Gagetown, New Brunswick is at flood stage tonight, and the St. John River is forecast to rise slightly higher tomorrow, then remain above or at flood stage until at least Sunday. Further upriver in Fredericton, a line of debris shows where the water was on Monday. The capital is still under a flood warning tonight, along with Jemseg. The city of Fredericton says river levels reached a peak of 6.2 meters yesterday.
We don't reach, any significant impact until about 7 meters. So we're looking at a minimal impact of flooding for our area. Although, weather can change and, these are predictions.
I've never really seen this before, so it's all new to me.
Rebecca Matthews moved here from the West Coast a few months ago and is experiencing her first spring freshet along the St. John River. She's also heeding the sage advice from flood seasons of the past.
They've blocked the trails off, and obviously they're admonishing people to not go near the banks because it's very dangerous.
Wooded areas along the St. John River are now part of the river, so drivers are once again being warned that more wildlife may be out on the road with nowhere else to go. Now, New Brunswick EMO says the lower St. John River should peak this week, but also say it will take longer for the river to return to a normal level. Todd.
That's CTV's Nick Moore in Fredericton. It's been 9 years since a former soldier murdered his family and killed himself in their rural Nova Scotia home. The Desmond inquiry into that incident produced 25 recommendations. Today we got an update on what's been implemented. Here's CTV's Jesse Thomas.
A Veteran Affairs official told this legislative committee that many lessons were learned from the Desmond fatality inquiry. 25 recommendations were made, and the official says actions being taken.
Releasing members now received individualized transition plans with enhanced support for those who are ill or injured.
Former soldier Lionel Desmond struggled to access medical and mental health care following his release from the Canadian Armed Forces. Diagnosed with PTSD after serving in Afghanistan in 2007, where he suffered a brain injury, his family said he came home a different man. In January 2017, Desmond shot and killed his wife Shayna, daughter Aaliyah, and mother Brenda before turning the gun on himself. Veteran Affairs say service members now receive tailored transition plans with enhanced supports for those ill or injured.
Veterans Affairs Canada has introduced automatic mental health coverage for veterans applying for disability benefit for certain mental health conditions.
The inquiry's final report was tabled in January 2024. Provincial health officials say much progress is being made on the recommendations, which they're addressing through 3 themes, including gender-based and intimate partner violence, mental health, and community safety and policing.
A lot of these recommendations, if you look at them, very little in that work is one single department. It all cuts across many departments.
The province maintains a website to track progress on the recommendations, where much work overlaps with recommendations from the Mass Casualty Commission.
By advancing work, I say, for example, in the area of gender-based violence, that's addressing several different recommendations in the 2 inquiries. That's why we've chosen to take a thematic approach.
Officials say regular progress updates on the website will continue. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
It was announced today work on St. John's Harbour Bridge will close the Chesley Drive-On ramp next Monday right through to mid-November. Construction is a familiar sight as cranes pop up around the port city. CTV's Avery McRae has more on the building buzz.
The St. John skyline has seen some new additions springing up to start the construction season.
It's been something that we've been aspiring for. We want to see that movement, we want to see that vitality, we want to see that excitement that the cranes bring.
Multiple cranes have appeared in recent months around the port city, none more noticeable than the one that continues to build up a 152-unit high-rise in the heart of Uptown. In an email to CTV, site developer Percy Wilbur says the exterior walls are expected to be completed next week.
Right now, there's a little under 700 units actively under construction in the greater St. John region. Put it in context, we've never seen this high a number since CMHC started collecting the data in the early 1990s.
Jeff Sears says the cranes are bringing growth to the city not seen in several years, and they aren't just focused on raising apartment buildings. A pair of large cranes are busy on the city's west side with a $1.5 billion expansion of the Irving pulp and paper mill dubbed Project Next Gen. A crane has also recently been erected at the New Brunswick Museum site that continues to target a 2028 opening.
It's a sign of momentum, it's a sign of excitement, it's a sign of confidence in the region and in the region's economy as well.
And in a rapidly evolving world, Mayor Donna Reardon says the cranes are hauling up the city's potential.
We just need to make sure we stay out in front of it, and we need to make sure that we're ready for it logistically.
Which she hopes means more cranes on the port city's horizon. Ava McRae, CTV News, St. John.
We'll step aside for a couple of minutes now. Still ahead, a chilly April night for us. Kaylin has the details. But next, Mexico begins an investigation after a shooting at a tourist site.
Some of the tourists started screaming, ducking, and running, and chaos really started taking hold.
A Canadian visitor was killed before the gunman shot himself on a pyramid. We'll get the latest from Mexico next. Canada has asked the government of Mexico to launch an investigation into what appears to be a planned attack on tourists by a gunman at a historic site near the capital. One Canadian was killed. We get the latest now from ABC's Armando Garcia.
Let's go. Today, new video showing tourists making their escape from a gunman who opened fire at the pyramids of Teotihuacan in Mexico. The man seen in this video holding a gun and pacing near the top of a pyramid. Another video shows the tourists scrambling down the steep steps, trying to escape. But others, like American friends Greg, Jalen, and Jaslim, pinned down when the shots rang out.
Some of the tourists started screaming, ducking, and running, and chaos really started taking hold.
People started screaming, running towards those ledges.
The friends jumping to the landing below when the gunman turned his back.
The drop is about 15 feet, so really what we did is we kind of try to hold on with our hands and kind of extend our full body length and then let ourselves drop from there.
They're seen in this video hugging the wall and trying to avoid the gunman's line of sight. Greg and Jalen sustaining minor injuries, but Jaslim injuring her foot.
I just couldn't run fast enough because my foot was like giving out on me at that point.
Authorities identifying the shooter as Julio Cesar Jasso Ramirez. Officials say he took his own life after authorities opened fire on him. Today, Mexico's Attorney General said the shooter was carrying handwritten materials related to violent incidents believed to have occurred in the United States in April 1999. Yesterday was the 27th anniversary of the Columbine High School shooting in Colorado. A woman from Canada was killed, 13 people injured. Authorities say they recovered a firearm, ammunition, and a bladed weapon at the crime scene. Armando Garcia, ABC News, New York.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
A bizarre theft has been solved decades later. Several rare and priceless novels written by the likes of John Keats, Oscar Wilde, and James Joyce were stolen but never forgotten. NBC's Erica Byfield tells us how the books were found and what happens next.
John Keats' long-lost love letters are helping turn the page on a whodunit. This literary marvel is among the 17 books stolen, now found. Laid out on a table in the Manhattan DA's office, they help tell the story of a nearly 40-year-old mystery. The books belong to John Hay Whitney and his wife, Betsy Whitney. Titles crafted by the likes of Oscar Wilde and James Joyce resurfaced in Manhattan in January of 2025 when someone tried to sell them to two separate rare book dealers. A man saying that he got them from his grandfather.
They alerted the authorities when they thought these books might be stolen, and without that, we might not be here today.
Investigators got search warrants, seized them, and earlier this year, a New York Supreme Court judge awarded them to the Whitney family.
My grandparents were extraordinary collectors in lots of different medium, and this is one example of their taste and their skill to collect.
The Whitney family plans to auction the books and donate the proceeds, which are valued at an estimated $3 million. Among them, a bound collection of 37 love letters written by John Keats to his fiancée, Fanny Braun. Worth a suspected $2 million. Braun left them to her children. In 1885, they sold them, and that inspired Oscar Wilde to write the famed sonnet, On Sale by Auction of Keats's Love Letters. Investigators believe that someone took 28 books from the Whitney's Nassau County estate sometime between 1982 and 1989. With these recovered, the hunt continues for the missing novels. It's an open-ended mystery. No arrests have been made.
The individual who we seized the books from wasn't even born at the time of the theft, so he didn't do it. The grandfather passed away in 2009.
Okay, mystery solved. Here's another mystery. Why is it so cold this late in the year? Kaylin Mitchell has the answer to that. Share it with us after the break. Hello, Yarmouth. Looking pretty good at 6:30 in the evening. 3 degrees. Again, chilly, Kaylin, but the sun is shining.
So not as chilly as Annie Ganesh when we checked in earlier, sitting at -1, but still pretty brisk heading into the evening hours. And temperatures as we make our way throughout this week are generally going to be remaining below average for the month of April. There are some signs that we could maybe shake free of this cooler trend towards the start of next week when we see this cooler air that's kind of pooled above us right now in the Maritime shift a bit out towards the North Atlantic. Right. Yeah. In the meantime, though, let's talk about the next weather system that's going to be approaching us here in the Maritimes. So this is coming up on Thursday, and this looks like it's going to be more showery than anything else, which isn't exactly bad news right now because, Todd, as we heard earlier, the water levels in the St. John River system are running quite high in a number of locations. Exactly. So we don't want a lot of heavy rain this week to feed into that river system. I'm not saying we don't want further rain as we make our way through the springtime because we don't want to get too dry too quickly this time of the year as well. We still have our driest months ahead of us here in the Maritimes, but it is nice to get a break from sort of repeating rounds of rain while those water levels are on the higher side. So this precipitation that's coming in on Thursday for the Maritimes, more showery than anything else. Could see some flurries mixed in, though. Rainfall amounts from it will be likely less than 5 millimeters for most of the Maritimes. The low pressure system holds mostly to the south of the Maritime region, but will swing by the Avalon Peninsula Friday night into Saturday. So eastern parts of Newfoundland looking at some rain and some gusty winds from that weather system as it makes its way up towards the North Atlantic. Let's take a look at a rainfall outlook basically through the remainder of this week. So this is going to run all the way into the weekend, all the way through until around Sunday at 12 p.m. It's a long-range forecast model here, and you can see that not much precipitation is expected for the Maritime region. Again, those blues filling in on the map. That's showing amounts approximately maybe up to around 5 millimeters over the next several days. Taking a look at what's coming up for this evening and tonight for the Maritimes, just a few clouds are expected to be around later tonight. It's going to be colder again, though. Should be a fairly sunny start to the day on Wednesday. Moving into Wednesday afternoon, there's some increase in cloudiness, so becoming a mix of sun and cloud. And that will be accompanied by some isolated showers afternoon into evening for New Brunswick, especially for northern and western parts of that province. So most communities there, you can think of that as around a 30 or 40% chance of a shower. And then we get to those higher shower chances for the Maritimes coming up on Thursday. Winds in the forecast for tomorrow are going to be a little bit variable in direction around the region. Out of the southwest for the province of New Brunswick, more northerly for Prince Edward Island, eastern areas of Nova Scotia, and kind of out of the northwest for western areas of Nova Scotia. In most cases, though, they're going to be sustained near 20 kilometers per hour with some gusts between 20 and 40, so a little bit of a breeze around. Low temperatures in the forecast for tonight for the region will be falling a few to several degrees below zero, and then high temperatures in the forecast for tomorrow, they're up a little bit compared to today, expecting some highs in the north of New Brunswick to get up between 7 and 9 degrees, except between 4 and 7 on the coast. Fredericton up to around 9 for tomorrow, 7 for St. John, and 8 degrees for Moncton. Still quite cool for Prince Edward Island. High temperatures for that province tomorrow between 2 and 4 degrees, despite the fact that it'll be mostly sunny. It's that north wind that's keeping those temperatures down. Eastern areas of Nova Scotia for tomorrow in Cape Breton, the high temperatures between 1 and 4 degrees. And for the North Shore and the eastern shore of the mainland, most of the highs between 2 and 5. 8 for Amherst, Truro, and for the city centres, Halifax and Dartmouth for tomorrow. Closer to 6 for Chester and Lunenburg. Near 9 for Liverpool and Shelburne. And in the Annapolis Valley for tomorrow, high temperatures 8 degrees at around Kentville and Middleton. Taking a look at the extended forecast, beginning first with New Brunswick. So some showers expected on Thursday, and then basically a chance of showers on Friday and Saturday. You can see temperatures trend to become more seasonable by the end of the weekend and the start of next week, despite the fact that there is a chance of some showers on Monday. Seasonable, by the way, for daytime high temperatures for New Brunswick, kind of into the low teens. For Nova Scotia, showers in the forecast for Thursday and Friday. That's followed by a chance of showers at the start of the weekend. It's followed by cloudy periods on Sunday, and then a mix of sun and cloud on Monday and Tuesday of next week. And for Prince Edward Island, got some shower chances here through the end of this week, Thursday and Friday. Low chance of showers on Saturday, about a 30% chance. Mix of sun and cloud follows for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Todd.
Very good. We'll see you for the wake-up weather later. Next, the Halifax Tides are set to kick off the second season of the Northern Super League, and we will speak with the league president right after this.
Okay, so we're back at it tomorrow, giving you a chance to win $5,000 from Virgin Radio's 5K a day.
Those keywords start with us after 7 a.m.
And we'll have tickets to Andrew Schultz at the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival.
On Saturday, the maritime entry in Canada's professional women's soccer league, the Halifax Tides, will open their second season at home. After a successful inaugural campaign, the Northern Super League kicks off this weekend. And tonight, we're pleased to be joined by NSL President Christina Litz. It's nice to see you. It's a busy week for you, so thanks for your time.
Oh, it's great to be here.
So you begin this weekend. What does a successful second season look like for you?
Oh, that's a great question. We had such an exciting first season, being Canada's first pro women's soccer league in the country, and really fulfilling the dreams, I think, of so many who played the game and who watched the game. As you know, in this country, the love of soccer, you could argue, came from that women's national team that Diana Matheson played on, and to have the league kick off last year was truly a dream come true. So I would say we talk about this year going from history to legacy. So this is all about sustaining the growth of what we saw in the first season at a really exciting time for soccer on this side of the Atlantic.
Well, let me just pick up on something you mentioned, and that was Canada's national women's program. And already, Holly Ward, Emma Regan on the squad. So right away, the NSL is making itself known on the national team.
Last year in our first season, we had 7 players in our league called up to the national team at some point in the season last year. We're really proud of that. Not to mention, there are so many dual nationals playing in our league that are playing for their country as well, and some really exciting internationals that are playing in our league. That, you know, I think one of the stories to watch this season is that story that while Men's World Cup is here this summer, this is the start of the story for the Women's World Cup in Brazil in 2027, and then the LA Olympics in 2028. And in case you haven't noticed, Canada usually does pretty well at the world stage on that front. So it's really exciting to sort of see those storylines come out this season. You know, recently we had 3 Canadians with the national team, you know, in their last camp, and we're excited to see who emerges this year that is going to lead into some exciting storylines going into 2027.
Well, looking at the NSL lineups throughout the league on the teams, it's a real, let's say it's an international feel this year. There seem to be a lot of global players making different rosters. Is the NSL getting more looks abroad?
Yeah, I think we are. I mean, the best, you know, although we had a great season and some great viewership and attention, what we're hearing from our players is that word is getting out as to what we're building here, and that we're a league that really takes care of our players. Like I think about a conversation that Diana shared with me for one of Halifax's exciting new players, Riley Foster, who played with Liverpool, a Canadian, and coming back here, she's so impressed with what she has seen from this team and what they've set up, and you know, the quality, you know, and she's arguably coming from one of the best women's teams in the world, and those kind of things get out. So you're right, we are seeing a lot of international players you know that we're here, and that if you play, you're going to be playing with one of the top leagues in the world.
We're going to have an exciting season this year. This may not be fair, but I'm going to ask you to look ahead a little further. We have all the original teams back. There has been talk of expansion, possibly by one team in 2027. From your position as a sports executive and president of the league, does that seem likely? Is that what you're looking at, sort of a slow rolled out and build up of more franchises?
Well, I'm not going to break any news here tonight, unfortunately. However, what I can say is that we are on track for an announcement soon on 2027. And you're right, the growth of this league at the right time in the right markets is a huge priority for us. So we're feeling good going into the season with the 6 incredible clubs that we have now, but there will be an announcement soon for 2027, and we're already moving on 2028. I
mentioned your background in sports management. Is expansion hard in Canada? We've seen, you know, the CFL's had an awfully difficult time with it. They'd love to be in Atlantic Canada. The CPL has had a couple of initiatives that didn't happen. They've lost a couple of franchises. Are those things you learn from, or is the NSL a different situation altogether, do you think?
You know, we're always going to learn from our partners in other sports. What I would say is that in women's sports right now, and certainly women's soccer, there's a lot of momentum and growth. And what happens with the NSL is we're really one of the best out of the gate on the international front. Soccer is an international game, and with that, you know, I would say we're getting a lot of attention internationally. I do think in Canada, investors are relatively more conservative when it comes to investment in sports. And we're really lucky to have owners like Courtney Sherlock around the table that not only see the vision, but see the opportunity. I think I hope we see more of that because this is truly something that is growing. You know, Deloitte issued a report recently that said women's sports as an industry is now generating $3 billion, and women's soccer in particular is slated to be a top 5 sport in the world in the coming years. And being a part of the top league in this country really sets the stage for a really good long-term investment prospect for those who get in early. So I hope more Canadians come along for the ride, but we love the international attention we're getting, and looking forward to more in the future.
Well, we know a lot of Maritimers will be in the stands Saturday night in Halifax to see the Tides back in action. Thank you very much, Christina. It's good to talk to you, and have good luck on a successful season.
Thanks so much. Take care.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with much more after this. Looking at health news, there's a survey that finds false online health information is forcing many Canadian doctors to intervene. CTV's Amanda Debison has the details in tonight's edition of The Lifeline.
A new survey by the Canadian Medical Association finds doctors are increasingly intervening to address harm caused by patients acting on false health information found online. Canadian doctors are increasingly dealing with the fallout from false health information their patients are finding online. A new survey by the Canadian Medical Association found that 97% of responding doctors have had to intervene to prevent harm or address consequences in patients who followed false or misleading online health information. The president of the CMA says Canadians are turning to online information because it's widely available and because of the shortage of healthcare providers across the country. Now to the power of organ donation. A Vancouver man has received a second chance at life thanks to a stranger. Mark Hoffling received a life-saving liver transplant from Ben Warner, a registered organ donor who lost his battle with addiction at age 37. While recovering in hospital, Hoffling learned he could write a condolence card to the donor's grieving family.
It felt like a tremendous responsibility to pour this very complex set of feelings into a single card, but I did my best. And BC Transplant got it to Ben's family.
I was having a hard time, and when that card came, it really helped me with my grieving.
The two families met in February.
Oh my goodness. Hi, Holly.
Hoffling was one of 3 people whose lives were saved by Ben Warner's decision to be an organ donor. Now close friends, the two say they're proof organ donation can be healing for both the recipient and the donor's family. This is National Organ Donation Awareness Week. Nova Scotia and New Brunswick operate under an opt-out system for organ and tissue donation, while PEI requires registration. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for The Lifeline.
We're on the scene with what could be one of the biggest blockbusters of the year. The long-awaited Michael Jackson biopic reaches theaters on the weekend. CNN's David Daniel has a preview.
Y'all willing to fight for it?
Yes, sir.
I need to hear you a little louder. Y'all willing to fight for it?
Yes, sir. Ready whenever you are, Michael.
Michael shows how Michael Jackson went from child star to the biggest star in music.
I believe music can change the world.
The king of pop is played as a boy by Giuliano Valdi, then by Jafar Jackson, Michael's nephew.
I really dived into his personal writings and journaling that really informed me on what he was feeling and thinking in a lot of those moments, and also why he wanted to write certain songs, and just seeing his vision in writing was incredible and informed me tremendously.
Just have all these songs in my head. Just gotta get them out.
I would try to write notes. So Michael Jackson, he would write like "Make It Shine," and he'd put it on his on the mirror. On his mirror, and I would put that on my mirror, and that helped motivated me.
You are the greatest of all time.
Michael's such an icon. You have to divorce yourself from that and deal with the human being. And it's easier when you have great actors who can bring that to the table. Just meeting Jafar and Giuliano, immediately you could feel the spirit of Michael just based on who they are.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
With Aaron and Peter. Weekdays at 7, you can win $1,000 with the $1,000 minute.
10 questions in 60 seconds to win, and you can get the answer to question number 10 on our podcast.
On the markets, the Dow Jones ended the trading day down 300 points, and it turns out some Canadian companies are eligible for refunds for those American tariffs. Here are the details now from B&M Bloomberg's Marella Fernandez.
Washington collected about $160 billion in tariffs that the U.S. Supreme Court later deemed illegal. Walmart's filing a claim. It's owed an estimated $10 billion. Nike could get a $1 billion refund. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business says about a third of Canadian exporters paid hefty tariffs because their goods did not qualify under the CUSMA exemption. Refund claims go through U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Still in the U.S., Amazon is getting in on obesity care. It has a primary care division called Amazon One Medical. Patients can get a virtual appointment with a doctor and then get their weight loss medication delivered to them right away. Its prices are set to be comparable to other pharmacy providers. 3M, maker of Post-it notes, reported earnings. Sales are up over 1% year over year, hitting $6 billion in its latest quarter. Besides stickies, the company makes roofing products and electronic materials, but has been working to pivot and add more data center products to its list. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to 73.15. West Texas Intermediate is up over $2 to 89.67. Western Canadian Select up over $3 to 68.48. And the TSX lost 551 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marella Fernandez.
To the weather deck now. Kalen, you've got one more look at the forecast.
That's right. It's cool out here, but a pleasant mix of sun and cloud at the moment. We are headed into another colder late April night. Let's go to our viewer picture for tonight. We've been talking about this over the last couple of days, but water levels are high on parts of the St. John River system right now, though it doesn't seem to have caused any major issues yet. You can see that water in around the Fredericton area has, at least on parts of the river system, come up the banks a bit. And this is what's shown here in this picture by Angela Nash, taken at Fredericton. I want to thank Angela very much for setting the picture that way, our way. For Fredericton for tomorrow, a sunny but colder start to the day, and then some increasing cloudiness in the afternoon, accompanied by a low chance of a shower. It'll be about a 30% chance for Fredericton tomorrow afternoon and evening. Day planner for tomorrow around the Maritime region. Starting off in the morning, temperatures a few to several degrees below the freezing mark, so you might want to have something a little bit warmer if you're heading out the door. Lots of sunshine, though, first thing in the morning. And then in the afternoon, the region turning a bit more over to a mix of sun and cloud. Afternoon temperatures will be up a few degrees compared to today in most cases, but still remain quite cool for Prince Edward Island, eastern areas of Nova Scotia there. Most of the highs around the low to mid single digits. Let's find out what's ahead on your Morning Atlantic.
Wednesday on Your Morning Atlantic, 'tis the season for spring cleaning.
DIY contributor Denise Wild will share tips to have your home looking neat and tidy.
Start your morning with us Wednesday on Your Morning Atlantic on CTV2 and Crave.
Then at 6 o'clock, championing women's health. A new study wants Maritimers' input on the unanswered questions in women's health research, and we will speak with a lead researcher here tomorrow at 6 o'clock. That is our look at the day here at home. Bruce is here at 11:30. The CTV News app and our web have updates anytime. I'm Todd Battis. Hope to see you tomorrow. Good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.